What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and it's Top 10 Thursday. And I gotta be honest, this has been a very happy week, mostly because, finally, my greatest wish has been fulfilled. For the last 2 years, I've actually been talking over and over again about how the one feature that absolutely needs to be put on the Nintendo Switch is some sort of virtual console, backwards compatibility, the idea that their old games need to come to the system, and they freaking did it! Now we actually have NES and SNES games on one little device, and while that's extremely cool, I noticed that their library certainly has some holes. A lot of the games they've already released, just for the simply monthly fee, are epic, but where's some of the cool RPGs? Where's the action stuff? Where's the obscure games? So today, what I wanted to do is actually just kind of celebrate the fact that Super Nintendo games are coming to Switch, and talk about the 10 that I really want to be on there, but right now are missing. Number 10. Mega Man X. There's a crisp kind of love to enjoying a game that you're bad at, where it's managing to be so well crafted and each level such a little individual masterpiece that you can acknowledge that it's great even as you continuously die to it. Mega Man X is not particularly difficult. In fact, I've seen people literally beat it blindfolded. But for me, it's one of those franchises that's always given me a little bit of trouble, but that's part of what I like about it. I would love to see this come to Switch specifically so I could finally practice all those dashes and dives and try and perfect the perfect boss order, but until then, I'll kind of just be dreaming of the Blue Bomber coming back. Number 9. Donkey Kong Country 2. The Super Nintendo in general is kind of famous for having some of the biggest catalog of incredibly solid platformers. Stuff like, of course, Mario has gotten famous there, but there's also been all sorts of third-party titles. When I think about it though, one of the ones that was the most technically advantageous is definitely Donkey Kong Country 2. It manages to really push the boundaries both artistically, with its really interesting claymation art, but additionally, it has some really complicated levels. It actually has so many different jumps and weirdness and weird little buddies trying to help you out. It's one of those games that I think you can play again and again just because there are so many hidden secrets. Number 8. Tetris Attack. There's a legend I've heard a couple times that back in the day, apparently this game was actually banned at pretty much every gaming website. If you worked at a place like IGN or Game Informer, you actually were not allowed to bring a copy of Tetris Attack into the office because it was so addictive. Employees, instead of writing stuff or actually trying to create that next clickbait article, instead they were just beating each other again and again. And honestly, I think that's a testament to just how freaking fun this game is. You can't stop even when your boss is yelling at you. Number 7. Super Mario RPG. Everything on this list is games that I do actually believe may come at some point to the Nintendo Switch, except for this. Now, we're not exactly sure why, but it seems like this role-playing game in particular, despite the fact that it is just so glorious, actually may be caught up in some weird illegal troubles. That's why we've never really seen it come back, and to me, that's a shame, because this is a freaking gem. Okay, so basically, it is a Mario RPG, pretty obvious, right? But additionally, it introduces just so many new mechanics and bosses and things for you to want to grind to get stronger for. I really like this game, but more than that, I respect it. I want to see it come to the Switch just to see what new people will actually think of it. Number 6. Super Bomberman. The SNES was the first console that felt like it absolutely needed a second controller, where you couldn't just have as much fun by yourself, and one of the games that really exemplifies that is definitely Super Bomberman. Okay, so this does have a single player where you can just perpetually go against tougher and tougher AI, but the real star of it is when it's just you and your friends actually trying to blast each other. There's also just such an addictive random nature to it. You don't know what the setup of the map is going to be, or what power-ups you could obtain. Even a bad player can get some wins, which kind of makes it where you become motivated to play even more matches because you really can't even guess who's going to be the final Bomberman. Number 5. Street Fighter II. there have certainly been some legendary games in the past, things that managed to completely change the course or the console generation as a whole. But Street Fighter II is interesting because it seems like it pretty much created fighting games in general. It created the concept of combos and tournaments, and sort of actually made us want to take this genre serious for the first time. And more than that, it's just so tight. I like trying to master different hits and chains and trying to figure out which fighter can actually counter a different one. That is just such an underrated aspect of this game, and the reason I think a lot of people still want to try and compete in it to this day. Number 4. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time. Okay, obviously, the SNES has a huge catalog of really great beat-em-ups, but I wanted to select this one specifically for the list because I think it's the one that has the most to it. It has the longest levels, it has the most enemies, and honestly, it has the most reasons to just get hyped. It's built on more than just nostalgia. It's definitely more fun if you've actually grown up with the TV show or the comic books, but it's really nice to just have a way to play 4-player multiplayer, to actually get here and just beat up things and stop Shredder, and more than that, to just see these really cool looking worlds. It's nice to be able to literally skip throughout the entire history to see all sorts of different relics and then punch them in the face. Number 3. Super Castlevania IV. When most gamers start to imagine the concept of adventure, a lot of us actually picture the idea of Castlevania. This franchise has become synonymous with the idea of spooky castles and cool monsters, and definitely the idea of using whips as a weapon. But more than that, I actually believe that this game is a huge trendsetter just in the idea that it wanted you to actually go out there and figure stuff out. This was definitely a game that was made not to have a strategy guide, not to have an online video tell you where to go, but instead to actually have you hit every single candle, every single boss, every single everything until you yourself can figure out the correct path. And then that rush of reward is so much more fulfilling than any easy mode game that's out today. Number 2. Final Fantasy VI. This is often regarded by many fans as the greatest RPG ever made, as a game that managed to actually combine a bunch of different elements of chaos and good lights and terrible evils, and simultaneously, I really like the fact that this game has so many different combat systems in it. Okay, yes, this is just your normalized turn-based battles, but every character in the game actually fights different. Each person has their own weapons and abilities and really cool magics that make it where, as you progress through the storyline and find new heroes to join your team, you end up just constantly being like, what the heck? But to me, that's only part of the charm. The other aspect of this is just that it is so long. This is the first game that ever came out that had a ton of side quests. With just a single Super Nintendo cartridge like this one, you could play hundreds of hours. So seeing that come over to a new console is definitely going to be a breath of fresh air. Number 1. Chrono Trigger. There was a day a couple years ago when I was just extremely sick. Like, I was just so ill I literally couldn't even go to sleep. I couldn't rest, I couldn't think. And so I decided that the best medicine would be focus, to actually keep myself centered on one particular thing right in front of me. So I decided to pop in Chrono Trigger. Now, I've beaten this game several times before that, but this was my first time playing it in a single sitting. Within about 15 hours, I just started my adventure, created my character, and of course, conquered the last boss. And it really kind of dawned on me that this is a different style of RPG. It wants to try and be cool, but it doesn't require grinding. It wants to have really epic bosses, but intelligence is the weapon to take them down. I still truly believe that this might be one of the best things that's ever been crafted by Square Enix, and to this day, I really wish we got another game in this saga. But more than anything, I just wish it'd come to Nintendo Switch. Did your favorite game not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Ooh boy, I'm still just... Nintendo is in a new age. They actually listen to their fans, and I am just so glad I'm here for it. Like, damn, this is legit. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.